Hello, welcome to the American Duchess live cast, Friday live cast. I'm Lauren. Abby is ironing. This live cast is going to be all about the Sacque, the 1760s Sacque that's in our book and all of its accompanying accessories. When we went to gather all of these items in preparation for this live cast about 30 minutes ago, we discovered that they were still in Abby's suitcase from costume college in August in a wadded up ball. So Abby's ironing right now. Let's see if we can show you. Hey Abby, say hello.
Hi!
There's Abby ironing. So she'll be here in just a sec. She's ironing the back pleats on the gown. She's almost done. But basically, we want to, every week, or well, every couple of weeks or so, we've been going over one of the chapters in our book, The American Duchess Guide to 18th Century Dressmaking. Guys, I know that's backwards. I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Oh, shit. Hold on. Okay, well, sorry. Anyway, it's backwards. But the book is called The American Duchess Guide to 18th Century Dressmaking, How to Hand Sew Georgian Gowns and Wear Them with Style. It's open for pre-order now for the grand price of like $16 on any Amazon in the world and other major booksellers like Barnes & Noble and others. So we want to share with you, Nicole, seriously, we want to share with you the Sacque that is in the book and all of the fun things that we made to go with it. So, Abby, are you done?
No.
Abby's not done yet. All right, so I can start. The Sacque, surprisingly, of the four major gown types that we made in the book, the Sacque was not the hardest. That was the English gown, which you can watch a video about that we did earlier several weeks ago. I love the steam sounds coming from the iron. The Sacque was not the hardest and it didn't take us the longest. Ironically, even though sacques, and what I mean when I say a sacque, we're using the English term for a robe à la Francaise, or some people call them a watteau gown, which is not a period term, but kind of describes it in a modern way. The gowns that have the long back pleats that are so gorgeous and the wide hooped peignets or the side hoops, ours closes with a stomacher. So, sorry. So this gown was actually not the hardest in the book. And we had three dressmakers, me, Abby, and Maggie Roberts, because she only got married like 4 years ago. Maggie Roberts was here sewing on it, so we got it done pretty quickly, surprisingly quickly. What took the most time, of course, was the trim, and we're going to show you. We're going to show you the trim on the gown. Wow, Abby's having a moment there, ironing this poor wadded up sack. They can't hear you, sweetie. So the trim on the gown took the most time. But the back pleats are actually fairly simple, and we took a lot of opportunity in the book to include diagrams and pattern bits that were going to make this easier for you guys. Because I know that sacques, oh my god, that's Steve. I know that sacques are confusing and intimidating to a lot of people. So let me show you some of the fun diagrams we have. We start with the bodice lining. We did a bodice lining gridded pattern for every gown in the book. It's not a pattern for the gown, it's a pattern for the lining, which the gown is built on. And then we have lovely diagrams like, here's how to do your back pleats, and about how wide they should be, give or take your own personal size. And then other fun and helpful things like, so you should put a gore in the skirts. How do you do that? That's how you do that. How do you cut that? Oh, it's done.
Kind of.
It's done. It's ironed. It doesn't look like a ball of wrinkled shit. So anyway, this is going to be really hard to figure out because it's not on a person, of course, but this is the Sacque. This is the inside of it with those lovely ties, adjustable ties across the back. Got some weird stuff going on with the light in here. And, you know,
guys.
Abby's done ironing. Like, how do we even show this, you know? Like, the trim. Yeah. That's a lot of trim. Front edges, serpentine down the edges of the gown. And, of course, the back pleats. that are so, this is a bit hard to see, that are so characteristic of this type of gown.
And freshly pressed.
Freshly pressed. So you guys have been seeing this gown a lot in our photos that we've been putting out.
And if you went to costume college, I was wearing it.
Yeah, Abby wore it to the gala.
That's the wrinkly marshmallow mess that it was.
And you're going to see more of it because we actually have a simplicity pattern coming out that is our pattern that we made for this gown, and Abby is on the pattern envelope and in the catalog wearing it. So for possibly the first time ever, a simplicity pattern is being displayed on the envelope with the garment having been made for the person that's wearing it. So it looks exactly how it should, and it should be a good reference for you guys. Hi, Abby.
Hi. What were you talking about?
The Sacque.
Yes.
You guys, we are live right now. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment box and we can answer them. They're going to come up on our screen.
Hi, Jennifer.
Anything that you want to know about anything that we've made or what we've included in the book or what have you, this is your chance.
Well, you were talking about, we had the diagrams when I was ironing amongst the sounds of steam coming up and giving me a great facial. The different diagrams. And we do also walk you through how to do the third pleat for the Sacque.
What?
The third pleat.
The third pleat? Wait.
Some people do third pleats, some people don't do third pleats, but the third pleat makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, the third pleat helps the back pleats of the gown be nice and crisp and hang straight.
Yeah, they don't kind of like cave back in.
Yeah, there's plenty of original gowns that don't have it, and you can really tell because the back kind of like droops a bit versus the super crisp and lovely
and
back
it will
pleats.
also help when you look at like Janet Arnold patterns and some ones I think by Nora Waugh as well, that the third pleat is like drawn in but it doesn't make any sense because you're like, where the hell does this thing go? Was she drunk when she sketched this? So we walk you guys through the whole like third pleat thing as well.
You can see, I know that's backwards, but you can kind of see we laid it out for you on how to do the back pleats. They're surprisingly quick.
Today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, the back pleats are surprisingly easy. It's the first thing that you, well, okay, it's not the first thing you do. No. You fit the lining first.
Let's show the lining.
Course. I showed a little bit of it.
Okay, so like the lining we did for this one is just ties in the back. So you can do a fitted back lining or you could do a laced up lining. We just were lazy and just did ties in the back like what you see here. So that way there is the adjustability. Of course, when you're making this thing, you want it to be in the ideal like lace point for yourself, so that way when you put it on, it is kind of where you want it to be. But if for some reason you get a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, it can go in and out if you need it to. Or if you just don't lace your stays as tight.
Sarah asks, what fabric is the Sacque made of? It's taffeta. Yes, it's silk taffeta, which is a dream to work with. And it's very nice and crisp, and it handles like all that trim and all the pleats really wonderfully, and it's very, very lightweight.
Yeah, so this gown is not heavy at all.
No. In fact, I remember my wedding gown, which was not a Sacque, but it was an 18th century inspired gown, was taffeta. And the photographers at my wedding took my gown away for photographs. And when she lifted it up, she says, "Oh my God, it's so light." Wow.
I think actually this is the lightest gown in the book too, because the 90s gown was made out of linen, and there's so much fabric in the skirt that it's actually pretty hefty. The 80s Italian gown is made out of just a quilting cotton, so that one's actually pretty hefty too. And then your wool gown from the 40s is hefty as well. So actually, for being the biggest gown in the book, it's actually probably the lightest weight one as well, because taffeta's great like that.
And it does. You do want it to be lightweight because this is a gown that's worn over understructures. Which I can show.
We had someone ask if we make wedding gowns.
No.
No.
She made your own wedding gown.
No.
There are lots of historical seamstresses and dressmakers who do. We make shoes and books. So, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is one side of a hoop. The other one is still like rumpled up somewhere. These are cane hoops with adjustable ties on the inside. This is what the Sacque is worn over to get the lovely shape. You can see they're not huge. When they're on the person, of course, the person's hips help define how wide the silhouette is. But this hoop pattern is also coming in the Simplicity Associated pattern pack that has stays, shift, and hoops in it. to go with this dress.
Yeah.
So it's 2 simplicity pattern packs.
Yeah, and like we these are not pocket hoops. Like there's no pocket in them. You just need to wear your own pocket. We have the slit so you can get to it. If you want to do the math to figure out what the bottom needs to be our guest.
Yeah, which is it's totally fine, but we went the easiest route.
We went the easiest route with the idea that you can also untie these and they lay completely flat. So we also wanted something that would very easily travel as well, that they were not going to hold on to their own shape in any way, shape, or form. So they pack up, you can lay them flat long ways, you can press them down like an accordion, but we wanted these to be packable. And really, really easy to make. And we also were lazy and didn't want to do complicated math. Full disclosure.
Yeah, so really, really simple hoop pattern. And then all of the how-to on how to make those.
Yeah,
the
super
hoops.
easy peasy, lemon squeezies.
Really, really easy.
Like a day project, honestly.
Yeah.
Is that.
And we used cane in ours, which is, for our gown, is perfectly strong. It's really easy to cut, shape, and work with. And it's very, very lightweight.
Yeah.
You can use steel if you want to. There's really no reason to do that. If you're feeling brave, you can use a couple of double giant zip ties in the channels. I've done that. But honestly, I think cane is so cheap and easy. You have to order it, but it's a wonderful material to use for hoops really and hoop structures. Yeah. So, yay. Cool. All right.
I'm sorry, like I'm still like trying to catch up. Like, I was listening more, but I was also going, gotta iron. I am such a bad costumer. It's like, you have these gowns and you wear them and you hand sew them and they're out of nice fabric and they're worth like technically thousands and thousands of dollars. And you're like, oh yeah, it's fine, just leave it in my suitcase.
Well, I had a little panic when I didn't see it hanging up in our closet. I was like, oh my god, where is it?
At least Doris wasn't using it as a dog bed.
Well, it does happen. So our gown in the book, we went for about 1768.
Yeah.
It was based on a Francis Coates portrait. And there were
the closest thing I have to a twin, a doppelganger.
There were a couple other reference images that we used. So around 1768, you get this trend for stomachers and petticoats that match in color and material.
Usually
and then a gown,
pink or blue.
Yeah, pink, blue. I think there was one that was like a seafoam green.
I can't remember, recall that one, but predominantly pink.
Yeah, and then the gown over the top is white or ivory. So we're not seeing the inverse where the gown is pink and then there's one, or the gown is blue and then you have white. But it was a short-lived trend. But we love the portrait so much that's what we went with. So our gown is stomacher front closing with a separate stomacher as opposed to one that's sewn into the gown.
Yeah, that's not compare front.
Compare front, which you can do, and the simplicity pattern is a compare front for the sake of newbies who want to do a sacque and are like, how do I?
Because pinning a stomacher sucks.
Pin this.
I hate it.
What's happening here?
It's one of the reasons why I don't like to go earlier in the 18th century because
it's a little tricky.
Stomachers suck.
But stomachers are really fun. So we put like a shit ton of bows and stuff. Yeah. Actually, Maggie did all of this, so thank you, Maggie. Yeah.
This one was a pretty close copy of the stomacher in the Coates portrait. We were trying to figure out like the proportions of it and what it looked like. So we tried to really closely reproduce the stomacher that the woman is wearing in that Coates portrait. So it's a 5-loop bow instead of like a 4-loop bow. And
we have instructions on how to do the 5-loop bows.
Yeah.
They always need puffing up. So we did 5-loop bows also for the
sleeve
bows
knots
on the sleeves.
Yeah. So all of that, and like the thing is like we went really, really basic and straightforward when it comes to how to put this on, but like for future reference, like stitching your stomacher down one side and hook and eyeing the other side is fine. If you want to just hook and eye it, you can probably just do that too on both sides, even though I think I've only ever seen it on one. I say that. I could be completely wrong, let's be honest. Or you can turn it into a compare front, like Lauren said, which would make everything easier.
Yeah.
So it looks like a stomacher, but it's not.
Yeah. You just button that right up the front.
You just pin or button that sucker close.
Yeah. So our gown doesn't have robings. We did robings for the English gown. You can do robings, that technique, for a sacque. But we didn't want to do both of that because it's not necessary the later you kind of get into the sacque's life.
Yeah.
Our
Also-
pins are just hidden by the trim.
Also, yeah, the trim goes all the way down the front, so even if we were to take the time to do a single robing, it wouldn't really be visible because it'd be covered up by the trim. So the trim does make it look like it has robing to it, and it's fine. It makes life so much easier.
Yeah, and it's accurate. So
yeah, it's
don't worry
completely
about
accurate.
if you're much earlier. If you want your sacque to be much earlier in the century, then robings are the thing,
Yeah, and
especially if it's untrimmed.
And there's a couple of things that, I mean, to be perfectly frank, that, like, I went back and, like, I looked at it going, why did we do this?
That's like all the way through the book. Why do we do this way?
Yeah, so there's, like, 2 notes I would like to make when it comes to the sacque that I think you could do that would make it a little bit more accurate and a little bit easier. We did do our tucker as one single length.
Yeah,
That was a
tucker across here.
stupid idea.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, let's like prove that you
go all the way
can
around.
go all the way around with one single tucker and a stomacher front gown. Because I know a lot of people go, "How? Oh, do you want to hold my hand?"
Yeah, our hands
She crossed
touched
my hand.
on accident.
Anyways, it gets to go all the way around because we wanted to say like this is how you can do it. But to be perfectly frank, if you look in the 1760s and early 1770s and you're seeing like these stomacher front gowns, there's a lot of different ways to wear a tucker. You can just have a bit of lace at the front on the stomacher, and that's fine.
Just
especially
right
if you
across the top
have
there.
trim around your neckline, then it's fine because you have enough going on here. Or you can actually make it so you have half the tucker goes around your neckline and then the other half goes onto the stomacher. And
they're
honestly,
2 separate pieces.
so they're 2 separate pieces. And honestly, that's what I would like to do with this sacque is I would like to cut part of it off, slap it on the stomacher, and then that way I don't have to deal with it. And like trying to tuck it in and like fight with Audrey is just like, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, because the reason it doesn't work is the gowns are all made for adjustability.
Yeah.
But if you have like a length across there and one day you're feeling kind of puffy here, and then it doesn't
when
match
does that
up.
ever happen for women? Shocking.
It doesn't
right?
match up. So yeah, if you guys want to just do it on the stomacher, if you know someday when I actually get to make a sacque for myself,
We were
that's
totally
what
beautiful. Thank
that's
you.
what I'll do. Oh, thanks, Naomi. So we did do some other things, just like with every other chapter in the book. It's not just about the gown; it's also about the millinery. So Abby just mentioned the tucker. There's instructions on how to do that. Again, guys, it's
So
really
easy.
it's like it's lace that's just gathered onto a band and then tacked into the neckline of the gown. We also did a couple of accoutrements. So, oopsie.
Uh-oh. Well, hold on.
The
This
cat.
might get a little shaky.
Hold on. Take the
Might
cat.
get a little shaky.
Okay. I did
There
it.
we go. So I patterned a really cute late 60s, early 70s type of cap. Super basic. Because when we announced the book, we had a lot of people go, big fluffy cap, big fluffy cap. And it's like, that's great.
For the 1770s.
And 80s.
But we do have one for
and
the
we do
1780s.
have a great one. I love that cap. But I wanted to make sure that we had a cap that was good to wear in like late 60s, early 70s, basically up to 74. I was kind of referencing images from this kind of span of time that would work for women who can't or do not want to pull off a very large cap because the cap sizes totally change with the hair and their proportions are really important. So I wanted, since we were doing late 60s and the hair is really low in the 60s, I wanted to do a nice, simple, smaller cap size that was still super cute. So this is it. It's really basic. Because of the way it's constructed and out of the silk organza, it does have a tendency, especially if you have a little roller in your hair, to kind of stick up almost like a wired cap, but it's not a wired cap. And you can make this out of cotton, you can make this out of linen, but it's just a nice, simple little cap that is super cute and perky to wear.
Yeah,
For
I
late
love,
60s,
I
early
love
70s.
the cat.
Yeah.
I love the cat.
Actually, I would like remember making this and I was like, this is the worst one I've ever done.
No,
it looks
it's
terrible.
super cute.
And then I put it on, I was like, it's not that
so
bad.
cute.
Yeah, she was wearing it around the office.
So cute. You can't see it because of the window, but it's
Yeah.
so cute. I love it.
So
yeah.
so shorter hair, it totally works great for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. We did not do a hat for this look. It's, I believe it's the only chapter in the book that we did not create a hat for. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's all right. We made a little choker instead. Super, super easy to do. Obviously very characteristic of this time period.
I like
Very
it with the
French.
blue.
Very French.
Yeah. I tried to take it off to be like, does this make me look more English? And we realized that I don't ever look English.
Abby just looks French all the time.
I just look very saucy French.
So this is made out of silk satin ribbon from Britex. It's very, very easy, and it's a very simple technique that we use over and over and over and over again for trim in the book, whether it's a single ruche trim or it's a double, like on the front edges of the sacque, to make this. And then it's just tacked to a nice tie in the back.
Oh, speaking of trim, we in the book actually show you and explain how to make pinked trim without having to use the punches.
The pinking irons.
The pinking irons, because those are really hard to find, and even if they're hard to use. And even if you get like new ones, they're often not as sharp as you need them to be. So what we did is Lauren actually found curved scalloped pinking shears.
They're really easy to get. You can get them on Amazon. Just make sure that they're for fabric and not for paper, because otherwise it won't work.
And then we created actual diagrams that you can copy to make templates on, and then you can trace those templates with erasable ink or chalk if that's what you want, but we're super huge fans of erasable ink over here.
It's controversial, but we love it. We've never had marks come back.
No, it's amazing. It's like magic. She totally converted me. I was like, this is great!
Yeah, so we made cardboard templates that were repeatable, and traced them out the scallops, and then you cut them. That is tedious. Your hands might hurt. Take your time. Double the fabric up when you do it.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about 18th century trim is that
it came out looking,
it's very, very
fabulous.
It's very nice, and it's never as much as you think it is. You don't get a 3-to-1 gathering ratio.
It's 2-to-1. Usually.
Sometimes it's even 1.5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very. Sometimes those gathers are barely there.
Yeah.
So don't stress about cutting out the trim.
It's still a hell of a lot easier than hemming it.
Yes, it is. With that being said, pinking is only for silk. It's only for tightly woven silk.
Yeah.
You are not going to be doing pinking on cotton, wool, or linen. Trust us, it's a nightmare. You don't want to do that.
The only time
they didn't do it either.
I will say the only time I've seen it on wool was a wool brocade.
On the bottom.
On the
robings where they're
and
like,
I think
fuck
they
these
did
robings.
that because the fabric was so thick, there was no way in hell they were going to be able to fold those up and hem them to do a clean edge. So they were like, well, and it was just at the bottom of the double robins. But we also don't get like wool brocade anymore, not like what I saw.
That,
so it's like, that was great in theory. Don't do it on worsted.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that, like Abby just said, we don't get that kind of material anymore. That's true across all fiber types.
Yeah,
all natural fiber types. Is the way fabric's being made today is not how it was in the 18th century. So our silk taffeta.
Oh yeah, our little cheat for that.
Which cheat?
To make it look like real silk taffeta. 18th century silk taffeta.
All right, you need to.
Our seaming.
What?
Did you forget how we
the petticoat?
We faked seamed everything to make it look.
I haven't gotten to the petticoat yet.
Well, I wasn't talking about just the petticoat. I was talking about just in general.
Right.
She almost wiped out her Starbucks.
I almost did. That would have been really bad. So Abby's referring to the widths of the fabric. I'm referring to the tightness of the weave and the finishing. Like, you don't get salted taffetas anymore. So even though you can still pink taffeta and you do get a little bit of a frayed edge, you see that on period gowns too. Just don't try and pink cotton, linen, or wool.
And it's not that it necessarily won't come out great. It's the fact that I have never actually seen it in an original. Like when I look at original gowns, I don't see pinked cotton.
Yeah.
Maybe there is one. Like, if someone knows of an original gown that has pinked cotton trim on it, please show me. That would be really cool. But usually I've just seen it on silk. So that's another reason why it's like, don't do it. It doesn't look like something that you see in originals. And like I said, I've looked at a lot of originals, but I haven't seen them all. I could be wrong, but it seems overwhelming that it's used in silk.
There's never an appropriate time to use the term always or never.
It's like the worst
for dress history, except what I just said. The thing about silk in the 18th century is it was very, very tightly woven, but cotton wasn't. The cottons that I've seen on original gowns was not like IKEA, like you mentioned, IKEA curtains or IKEA duvet covers.
Well, we don't have, I mean, like, we're not making reproduction 18th century cottons are usually a quilting weight fabric, and they're not a really fine quality muslin, which is what those would be, and extraordinarily expensive. Cheaper cottons were usually, I think, a blend of a linen cotton blend. They were called cotton, but they actually usually seem to be like 50-50. of a cotton linen blend and a cheaper product. But this is like totally going down like a separate rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But anyways, if anyone knows of an original gown that has pinked cotton
please
trim,
send
please
it
send
to
it
us
to us.
because it's like the
We'd
holy
love to
grail
see
of
it.
like I want to see this. So yeah, we didn't really get into the petticoat, but you can see all the pinked trim on the petticoat, all using templates.
And the one section that wasn't ironed.
So we used the same kind of template at the top for the narrow trim as we did for the top of the wider trim, and then another template for the very broad scallop at the bottom.
We have a question from Kelly asking if we used 18th century gowns. Yes. Lauren has looked at a few. I have looked at
A lot.
many over the course of about
A lot.
10 years. Holy crap. And actually in the book, we have a reference to like all the different gowns that have been studied.
That were referenced specifically for the book.
Yeah, and like what museums like they are in and their accession number, so that we can go and actually look them up, so you can see what gowns we've looked at.
Yeah, or if you want to make an appointment,
Yeah.
To study the gowns, you can see what we were looking at.
Now,
as
I will
well.
say some gowns that I've been able to study, like I think LACMA is a good example of this. Like they're not online, but the curators at LACMA are awesome, and you can always email them, and I'm sure they'll be happy to send you photos. CW is the same way, Colonial Williamsburg. They're super good about sending you information or getting study times if that's what you want. Hope, Neil, you don't mind me saying that.
we even have an original 18th century gown. Later, this was more applicable to the Italian gown.
Yeah.
Here in Nevada, which is super weird because the
Yeah.
Textile Museum here only collects garments that have Nevada provenance. So this gown was amazing because it was converted into a Victorian fancy dress gown and then reverted when the museum acquired it. An incredible yellow silk file Italian gown. So we've been able to study that locally as well.
There are different size scallop templates in the book. Yeah, there's two.
There's different widths. The size of the scallop is the same. It's about 1 inch by ½ inch high.
No, we have the big one too.
We don't have the really big one.
We don't?
But you can make your own. They're really, really easy to do. And it's very, very useful. So the cardboard templates that we used were, about that long, and then you just trace them. So cut it out of like poster board or something.
And honestly, like just use like a Coke can, a bottom of a
for the wide at the bottom.
for this,
for this one,
just do half of that, and it's fine.
Yeah,
And that's like
or a compass.
Yeah, or like you could be cheap like me and go, oh, this Coke can works, pop.
Yeah. Now you can cut straight with the pinked shears. You can cut straight with the scalloped pink shears, and there are original gowns that are cut straight with zigzag pink shears.
But
The problem with the zigzag is even though it is accurate to do that, and you can use the zigzag in the scalloped or in a Van Dyke as well, which is a spiky one. The problem is that has, just like with like 1960s clothes looking back into the 20s, and now tainting kind of the modern view, does it look...
Sneak preview to a podcast episode coming up really soon.
Does it look too modern? Even though it's accurate, does it look too modern? So we particularly like the scalloped shears, using them to cut other scallops, because that's what looks... you see that a lot in those with those pinking punches. Yeah. So you guys can work through the tedium of cutting out scallops, but
it's not too bad though.
Yeah, it's not too bad. The gathering is not too bad, and like we said, we put this gown together faster than anything else, any other gown except the round gown, the 90s gown.
Yeah, the 90s gown was so fast. Gather it up, slap it on, done, looks great, oh my god.
We put this gown together faster than the Italian gown, which we'll share the next time, which has no trim on it.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
But the fit on it is different because you have the adjustability in the front and the back of the sack.
And
it makes it easier.
So much in the skirt.
Yeah.
It just took forever.
So I think that's about it. We did an apron. We don't do a kerchief for this one.
But you can take, like for a kerchief, you can take the 1740s shape basically and just make it, and you don't have to do the neck slit. Like you can curve it if you want. You can do whatever and just sew it up. Add some lace on it. Call it a day.
Yeah, and it will look fabulous. So it's a more formal look, kind of in. If you are going to go outside and your hair isn't dressed, and you want to wear a hat, you can You could use the brain hat for this.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's a little bit later, but I think if you change the colors and how it was trimmed, because like the black silk for the brain hat,
I don't think they've seen the brain hat yet.
Well, other than just like pictures of Maggie like floating around on the internet.
This is the brain hat we're talking about. It's a 1780s hat.
Yeah, but it's like you can do variations of that and in different styles and like then wear it with a sack. So like a white hat with maybe like pink or blue trim or something like that.
Yeah, get creative with it. You can also use the little straw bergère that we did like a very simple trim method on the 1740s.
Just add a little bit more ribbon to it.
Yeah, that carries through all the way through to the mid. Well, it carries through the entire century, really. But yeah. So the last thing about the Sacque chapter, as with every chapter, we don't want to just kind of be like, well, now your gown's done. Have fun! How do you get dressed? So here's I know it's backwards, guys. I'm sorry. Here's a start to finish. In what order do you put what on, and how do you pin it, and what it's all supposed to look like together, so you have a reference for kind of what you're going for.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, in that one, I didn't have the cap on. I guess I put the cap on later for the photo shoots. But I would recommend putting the cap on before you put the gown on.
Yeah, it's always a good idea. Or your lady's maid can put it on for you afterwards. But yeah, so this chapter was very much about working with silk taffeta. It's the only gown in the book that we do in silk taffeta. It's all about trim. It's also about organza, right? Working with organza, getting those tiny hems, whipping things together, and how to work with that in a way that isn't going to make you insane. But again, it's all hand sewing, and it's all hand sewing in the accurate way, so that's what we wanted to go for.
And I think we mentioned this in the first video, but as with every gown and outfit that we made for this book, there was one massive fuck up.
What was that fuck up, Abby? Because it was totally your fuck up.
Because I do math good. Because I'm smart.
When we went and bought the materials, we got really lucky at our local Milan shop, and we found all of the silk taffeta on one day for everything in the book.
Every 18th century color you could ever possibly have wanted, except for like bottle green. It was like right there in front of us. Yards and yards and yards of it. It was magic.
And all of it was 60 inches wide, except
all of it.
The ivory
was 54.
But Abby didn't measure that.
No, I just assumed. And you know what happens when you assume?
You make an ass out of you and me. So our back, you can actually show this. Yeah. So the back breadth where it comes down from the shoulders all the way down to the train, and we did want to put a little bit of a train. It came up short because it took us a long time to figure out what had happened here. So we had to piece the bottom of it. Fun. So what you see here is the piecing, and then there's another line that's actually the facing, which we go over in the book, which you do want to do on silk taffeta gowns, the facing on the inside.
Stitches as well.
Fun times.
Didn't pick those out.
You don't ever pick any of your basting gowns.
No, I never do, unless it's like super visible.
So luckily, piecing is period.
And I learned a good lesson in counting.
And there's a chapter, it's not a chapter, there's an essay in the book about piecing. So if you guys have a monumental fuck up the way that we did on every single gown in the book, and you need to piece in under the arm, the front edges of the gown, the hem of the gown, that's totally okay. And we're not just saying that to cover our asses. You do see it on originals. If you have the fashion and detail books from the V&A, where they have the diagrams of the gowns, the line drawings, you can see some of those gowns. There's one, I think it's Danish. The bodice is like 15 pieces on one side.
Well, there's one, it's a silk brocade gown in Glasgow in the Kelvin Grove Museum, and I remember seeing that when I was in grad school, and it's like little almost puzzle pieces. It's been so heavily pieced. And it's all right there in the bodice, kind of where the arm would cover it up, but it's still really, really heavily pieced.
Yeah, so we have some examples here. These are from the Met on piecing is period. So you can read all about it there.
So for those of you asking about book, it's already available for pre-order on Amazon. So it doesn't matter what country you're in. If your country has Amazon, the book is there. And it's in the same price point basically for whatever your currency will be. So you can pre-order it there. We will also be carrying the book on our website, and we'll be actually selling signed copies as well.
Yeah.
So if you want to wait and get a signed copy, you can order it from us around. The book is released on November 21st, so it's out for Black Friday, and we'll be selling the book around that time as well.
Yeah, we've ordered 100 copies initially. You can get it signed for us for a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or you can pre-order it right now. It's about $15 or $16.
Yeah, it's really affordable.
Yeah. So for that price point, we actually laughed when they're like, your book is going to be priced this amount of money because there's so much information. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of information for $15. Like, go and buy it.
And it's like, they don't think that our publishers realized like how expensive costumey books actually are. We're like throwing out like $100 and like, I found Cut a Woman's Clothes for $85 and
What?
yes! You know, so like $16 is like, oh yeah, boop, boop. So, but it seems like it's available in pretty much every country that anyone's ever asked. Yeah. And it's available for pre-order. We will be selling the book. I also want to just put it out there that there have been copies sent out as basically pre-release publicity copies. Yeah, so certain people have received them. So you might be seeing them, like Jennifer Rosebrook for Historical Sewing is one of them. She's received a copy. She'll be doing a review of the book leading up to its release. 1546. Thanks, Kelly. But so there's a couple out there already, like, and that's
Jennifer, why. The reason that we sent her an advance copy, and there were only a limited number that the publisher would send out, is because Jennifer's going to be using the book kind of as a textbook for her 18th century dressmaking online classes. So if you are looking at this and you're like, this is insane, Jennifer's going to be your point person for the how-to. So go and check out Historical Sewing is her blog / website, and on Facebook or regular web reverse, and ask her about it, of when that's going to kind of start happening and whatnot. So there's going to be a step-by-step videos on doing it that we're going to drop into every once in a while to answer some questions.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm glad you think the book's
Yeah, so until next time, when we talk about the Italian gown and all of its millinery and accessories as well,
we're going to have something extra special to show you, too.
Oh, with the Italian gown? Yeah. So I believe that's next week or 2 weeks from now that we're doing that. I don't remember. It's sometime in November.
I think it's 2 weeks from now because we're going to do the Italian gown and the 90s gown back to back since we had to change our schedule for this because you went to China.
Right.
So I think the Italian gown and the 90s gown are going to be back to back, but I do think we have a week between, which is good because we have to get the Flapper Dress podcast.
Oh yeah, we have a podcast for you as well.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, if you have any more questions, our video is no longer going to be live, but it is going to stay on the newsfeed. So you can write them in the comments box, and we're going to answer them with other comments. And I'll also update the description of this video to include a link to Amazon where you can purchase, pre-order your book. So thank you very much.
That was kind of a sporadic one, but it's been fun.
At least it's in, landscape mode this time.
Well,
we love you guys. Questions, leave them in the box, and we'll see you next time.
Woo!
Bye!
Bye!